Thank you so much for tuning in today to our Intro to the AI for the Job Search. I am Karen Rosen. I'm the employee specialist at the Brock Center. The Brock Center, for those of you that may not be aware, is a service that's offered through the Natick Service Council. And I meet with Natick residents free of charge in all aspects related to their job search, whether it's career and job assessment, resume writing, job search strategy, interview prep, salary negotiation. We cover it all and certainly welcome you to reach out to us for any assistance you may need. Again, it's for Natick residents, free of charge. I'm thrilled to be joined today by Jim Owens, my collaborator on this presentation. Jim is a tech guru, Natick resident, and extremely valuable volunteer at both the Brock Center and the Natick Service Council. Today, our intention over the next 40 minutes or so is to give you a very high-level overview of a couple of artificial intelligence tools and how easy it is for you to use them in your job search. This is what we intend to cover today. So first of all, we'll go over what are AI and ChatGPT and what can they do, examples of generative AI and ChatGPT in action, and note that we will be using ChatGPT, Bing, AI, those terms interchangeably. With regard to the job search, we'll show using a couple of tools to write good prompts. Keep in mind that writing good prompts is what it's all about when using these tools. And some of the example prompts that we'll go over are identifying a career path, creating a professional resume, interview preparation, and some other possibilities for you. We'll conclude with tips and considerations that you should pay attention to when using one of these AI tools. To talk about what AI is and ChatGPT, I'll turn this now over to Jim.
Thanks, Karen. So just to kick things off, we thought it would be helpful to review a few terms that you might have heard related to AI. Just for starters, artificial intelligence basically means using computers to do tasks that you would normally think of as a human doing or based on human intelligence. Within that, there are quite a few buzzwords. Some of the ones you may have come across or maybe not, machine learning or deep learning. But the only one that we want to really mention today that you might think about remembering is something called generative AI. And what that means is it's using information that's already out there, and computers then process that information and use that to generate new work, meaning they actually generate new text, new content that is not simply a copy of what's out there, but it's new information and new content that hasn't existed before. So that's where the name generative AI comes from, and that's where tools like ChatGPT that we'll talk about today fall into that category. So what can generative AI do? We'll focus today mainly on generating text. So it can summarize information. It can actually generate new content like articles and poems, stories, even write jokes. It's great for marketing copy. It is widely used now today to write computer code. And they actually can act as AI assistants, meaning you can use one of these tools to act as a personal assistant to schedule meetings, find information, summarize notes, things like that. They even have some that will impersonate your favorite celebrity and how they might respond to your questions. Some of the other things they can do, which we won't focus on as much here, but they can generate images. If you simply type in a prompt, it can generate a very realistic image based on that prompt. They can generate videos now as well. Sometimes just based on a simple text string, it can generate a video of what you typed in. And there are tools now that can even compose original music based on something you might enter in terms of a genre of music you like or some lyrics. And so and so much more than that. So there's really an unlimited use for some of these tools, and some of what's happening is really amazing, and it changes pretty much every day. Some of the popular services out there, you might be familiar with ChatGPT. That is one of the most popular ones, and that's really kind of what kicked off the heavy recent interest in AI. That's from a company called OpenAI, and you can simply go to that website and create an account and try that tool. Some of the other tools, Microsoft Copilot, which we'll show you today, is similar. Google has a tool called Bard. There's a site called u.com, which we'll also show you, which is a pretty simple tool to use. And then companies like Meta, which is Facebook, is integrating AI into a lot of their applications. And then there's companies like such as Anthropic Studio, which has something called Claude AI. There's a lot of others as well. Really, try the tool that works best for you, and feel free to experiment with it. But these are some of the ones that you might come across. As I mentioned, today we'll show you two tools. No particular interest in these other than we found them to be helpful. Feel free to use whatever tool you want. The reason we're showing you these, so Microsoft Copilot is a free tool. You can access what's called GPT-4 from it, which is considered the most current model, one of the most advanced models. That's from a company called OpenAI. And it also has links to the internet. So not all of the tools can actually let you access internet data as well. Some of them, their information ends after a certain date. So using a tool like Copilot, you can get an internet search mixed in with your results, which is helpful. It also does interesting things like image generation. One caveat, it's best to use with Microsoft Edge as your browser, and you do have to create a Microsoft ID to use it. U.com is a little simpler. You don't need to log in, and you do get a very good results with a very simple interface. It's very much similar to using a search engine. So it's a good tool to get started on. And both of these have paid versions of these services as well.
So now let's get into some examples. We're going to start with a few fun ones, as we refer to them. They're not related to job search. This first one, I tried actually just to get a little folksy and personal here, over for a family dinner when we were having a couple of our grandchildren over. They're in the tween age group, and I'm always looking for ways to engage them in conversation, if you will, over the dinner table. So in this case, we used u.com. Very simple. If you can do a Google search, you can do a search on one of these AI tools. And I said, you are an expert. That's the role that I want the AI tool to play. I want it to be an expert at creating trivia questions that can be used at a family dinner. Compile a list of 5 trivia questions and answers, all related to food, and present the results in a table format. So I specifically asked it what I wanted from this tool and how I wanted the information to be presented. So the next chart will show us, when you click on that arrow, we should get within nanoseconds the response. Notice it provided 5 questions and answers in table format. And down below, you'll notice that there may be some other suggestions if you wanted to continue prompting. For example, if you wanted some information on Christmas pudding or a traditional Christmas dessert in England, it's giving you some other suggestions if you wanted this prompt to continue and you wanted to delve deeper into food trivia. So that was fun, and I'll tell you that it worked really well for a family dinner with grandchildren. Jim has a couple of other examples to share with you.
Sure. So this is Copilot, the other tool we mentioned, and this one's a little bit different. So this has some sample, what they call prompts at the top here. So it'll give you some ideas of how you might use this tool for writing code or analyzing data. But down at the bottom here, you see a similar window where you can type in any query you want. And in this case, what we're doing is we're saying, you are a poet, write a brief poem about how bad the New England Patriots were this year, which is a topic near and dear to my heart. And so what we'll do is we'll just submit that prompt, as it's called, and in real time, in this case, Microsoft Copilot will generate a poem about the Patriots and how awful they were. So just a good example of how, it can create content really from a very simple instruction. And, every time you run this, it should come up with a different poem. Sometimes the content will overlap a little bit, but generally speaking, it's generating, a new poem based on that simple prompt. Some of the other examples, we'll just show you these previously run prompts just because it does take a little bit of time to run some of these. So in this case, we just said, create a realistic photo of a snowman wearing a Boston Red Sox cap. And these images are not stock photos. They're not photos that were found on the internet. These were generated from scratch, and they look pretty realistic. You can see how detailed these can get. And this is, so all these pictures are, completely invented by these tools, showing you a photo of whatever it is you want to do. And you'll notice at the bottom, you can then provide more information and iterate on this prompt. So it gives you suggestions at the bottom, can you make it look like Fenway Park is in the background? So one of the things we're going to emphasize is, as you use these tools, it's not simply one question. Once you get your response, go in and fine tune that response by adding more detail or adding more questions to get the response that you want. Another example is kind of the reverse of that. So we uploaded an image and said, describe what you see in this image. And as you can see, the system is smart enough to actually analyze a picture and describe in words, a very detailed description of what it's seeing in the picture. So it really just shows the power of these tools and how much they can actually do. This one is not necessarily useful for a job search, but it's kind of a fun way to explore the tool, and could be helpful in other ways.
All right, so now we're going to move into the part of our presentation that focuses on the job search. So we'll try to help you understand how you can write useful prompts when using one of these AI tools. First of all, I want to say that with any new technology comes new opportunities. And one new opportunity that we're beginning to see a lot of is prompt engineering. And that's basically a new field that just studies how to ask generative AI good questions. So that's what we're going to focus on a little bit now, as we look at these job-related prompts. One useful model to help you create a solid prompt, or a prompt that will help you provide information that you're really looking for, is by using the acronym RACE, or RACE. Now, you'll remember in the food trivia example that we showed, I indicated that I wanted the tool to be an expert. So you can think about ChatGPT or Bing as a companion with you along this search. So what role do you want ChatGPT to play? So in that case, I wanted it to be an expert on food trivia. In Jim's poem case, he wanted it to be sort of an expert at writing poems about the dismal season of the Patriots this year. So with regard to work, you could say you are an expert at knowing the credentials that a hiring manager should look for when hiring for their restaurant. Or you are an expert, for example, on email marketing, and you want it to provide an email marketing campaign that would work for a certain situation. So starting out with you are an expert for your ChatGPT, for the AI tool, is helpful. What action do you want this tool to provide? So detail the action that's needed. explaining a hiring process at a company that you're interested in, explaining the difference maybe between a couple of different jobs, like how is project management different than program management? What advice would you give to me, a job seeker, on how to improve my LinkedIn profile? And you can include the link to your LinkedIn profile for the tool to reference, and it will come back with a response. The context, the C in this acronym, basically refers to you. Who are you? What role are you playing? So in this case, you're the job seeker looking to transition. You're looking to pivot perhaps from retail to healthcare or from some other industry to another. I'm a job seeker and I'm giving you a copy of my resume. Here's a link to the target company, to your target company's annual report, and here's my work experience. And then moving on to expectation, which is what outcome, how do you want the tool to answer your question? Do you want a bulleted list of top 5 qualifications for the role? Here's my work experience. What do you suggest for me to do for next steps to get in touch with a particular company or person? List the 10 most common interview questions. And look how specific it can be in increasing order of difficulty and provide sample answers. So using this acronym, which Jim and I have started using to help us generate or provide great prompts to generate the information that we want. So let's look at some examples now. These are the 3 that we're going to review. Identifying a career path, company, industry, or job, creating a professional resume, and then interview prep. So let's start with guidance on the career path. This is the sample prompt. What's the role? You are an expert on career guidance in the healthcare industry. What action do we want? Provide some ideas for careers in healthcare for someone with the experience below. And note that you can copy and paste the text in your resume at the end of the prompt. Keep in mind, we recommend not to include any personal information, your name, your email, your phone number, your home address, anything that could be used to identify you. It's just security. That's our recommendation. So just include the text without your header information from your resume. And what's our expectation? Provide a bulleted list of 5 jobs that are the best fit jobs with a summary of the experience needed for each role and how my experience would be a good fit. Also include additional training or education I would need to obtain each position. So note how detailed the expectation is, how we want the information to come back to us. Okay. These tools can be very friendly. So in this case, Bing was used. A resume was uploaded, which we're not going to include here, just because of time and space and so on. So Bing came back and said, hey, hello, this is Bing. I can help you explore some possible career options in the healthcare industry. Based on your resume and experience, here are some ideas for you. So right away, we're including 3 here, again, based on the screen capture that we got. And although 5 were provided. And just a couple of things I want to point out here. Notice the citations. You'll see 1, 2, and 3. At the end of the information that is provided to you, you would see, again, this is Bing, you would see where Bing pulled the information from. Could have been from Google, it could have been from some other research guide, but that's what those citations mean, what those little blue numbers mean. Also, take a minute to see that we asked for 5 jobs, which we got, but we're including 3 here. We asked for a summary of those jobs. We asked for a fit, with regard to our experience, which was based on our resume. And we also asked if we would need any additional training. And this information was provided incredibly quickly. I mean, if I can say it, it was mind-blowing. Okay, so I won't read all that. I will leave that to you. And again, as Jim had mentioned before, you can continue to iterate on the responses that you get. So in the next chart, we asked, limit the career options to those that don't require a college degree. So, sure, I can help you narrow down those options based on your resume and experience and the web search results I found. So first person, here are some ideas for you. So it pulled up, what we included here was pharmacy tech and medical sales rep. So based on what I know, one could become a pharmacy tech without having a 4-year degree, could get an associate's degree, or there may be some other certificate programs for upskilling to be a pharm tech. The medical sales rep, I'm curious about what the response was, that it says you don't need a college degree. And this is just coming from my own personal experience. I know several people in this industry, and they would not have been hired without a college degree. And I bring that up because the AI tools, as wonderful as they are not perfect. It's important for you to read the information that it provides and to verify whether or not it's accurate or not. So that is just a word of caution for you. And we wanted to use this example to show that. All right, moving on to another example that we come across in the Brock Center. Let's say, again, what's the role? You're an expert. AI tool, you are an expert in helping sales executives find new work. So in this particular situation, the prompt that we made up is, I'm a sales exec with 20 years of experience who recently lost my job. My volunteer work includes being a selectman in town government and coaching Little League. I want to work in an organization that is mission driven. And my Clifton Strengths top themes are achiever, harmony, learner, responsibility, and empathy. What do you recommend? Now, for those of you that are not aware of Clifton Strengths, it is a service or a tool that we provide at the Brock Center, and it's an assessment tool that can be used to help those really who are struggling with, gosh, I'm really not sure what I want to do. It identifies innate strengths and has an inventory of about 34 themes. And we picked these 5 for this particular example. So, and we said, what do you recommend? Okay. So it came back with, well, first of all, based on your experience and your volunteer work and your desire to work in a mission-driven organization, first person, I have a few recommendations for you. Now, some of these may seem really obvious and maybe some aren't. Or you may be struggling with how to articulate your skills. So what I really like about this is that it gives the person a way to identify their transferable skills and provides opportunities to explore. So exploring opportunities in municipal government basically based on the fact that this person has so much volunteer information and has been a select person in town government. But the person may not know how to leverage all these skills, right? How to transfer my sales experience into something else that I may feel better about. How does my sales experience, probably in a for-profit organization, how could that translate into a nonprofit organization? And gosh, what about all my volunteer work? How would that translate? So it provides language and can foster ideas that you can then continue to iterate on. You could dig deeper. Now, the next one, it also commented on the Clifton strengths. It pulled out the 5 themes that we mentioned and how can they be valuable assets in your job search. It explains or provides suggestions on how you can leverage your achiever theme to demonstrate your drive and determination, or your harmony theme, or your responsibility theme. These strengths actually, and being aware of them, can set you apart and make you a valuable asset to any organization. And it can help you with some phrasing and some terms that you can then use in your resume and in your cover letter to help show more of your personality and who you are. Okay. So many folks that meet with us are people who are returning to the workforce. So in this case, we asked you to be an expert in helping folks return to the workforce. I have been a stay-at-home parent, here's the context, for 10 years. Prior to this, I did have a full-time job. I was a marketing manager at a mid-sized retailer, but I don't want to go back there. During this time that I've been a stay-at-home parent, I have been doing a bunch of volunteer work, including being president of the PTO, coaching town soccer, and an assistant Cub Scout leader. Basically know that I'm a problem solver, I'm good with numbers, and I am a strong team player. And this is our expectation. Suggest up to 5 strategies for searching for new opportunities within the healthcare sector. So we asked for 5 strategies and we will provide 4. There's one included on the next chart, which we'll get to. And it's suggesting researching healthcare rules. Well, you may not know what those healthcare rules are, but it provides you with some suggestions, and then you could continue to iterate your prompts to dig deeper into what being in healthcare administration might look like, or a project manager, or doing data. You'd mentioned that you're really good with numbers. What would that data analysis position maybe look like? And then you may also want to figure out, gosh, what additional training might I need to do that? Again, leveraging your transferable skills, networking within the healthcare industry. A lot of people don't like networking. It's outside of their comfort zone. So I suggest to people to turn it into a game. How can you gamify that process? Challenge yourself to network and reward yourself at the end. So reach out to professionals. LinkedIn is so wonderful with that. And you would be surprised that even if you asked somebody who cuts your hair or some workman in your house, your network can expand pretty quickly. And then also considering additional education or certifications. There is lots of online opportunity now. There are free resources and those that cost some money. But again, do your research on that. But there's so much available for you just by using your computer to get there. And lastly, one strategy that I speak of often and fondly is to volunteer. So that would be number 5. And volunteering, and in this particular case, this person has done a lot of volunteering, but not so much in healthcare. So volunteer or intern in a healthcare organization to gain practical experience and make connections within the industry. Doing so can help you to better understand what that world is like, what that environment is like, what the culture is like, and it helps you continue to build out your network and potentially lead to a job opportunity. So there's no doubt about it that returning to work can be challenging. It can take a while. You can put your plan together. We can certainly help you at the Brock Center do that, to research, to network, to help you identify your transferable skills, and to lead you to the job that you'd like and enjoy. Okay. The next prompts that we want to help you with are on resumes. Now, this one is fun, and I'll explain why in a minute or so. Notice at the bottom of this chart the information with regard to the work experience that we provided into the tool. Just 3 jobs, 2 administrative assistant positions, 2 different companies, and a sales manager job at a clothing store. Nothing else was provided. So the role here was, you are an expert on writing effective resumes. The action is to write a resume for an office manager position in a professional format based on the information below. The context is basically that I want to use the experience that I had to move up, to move into an office manager position in a small company. And my work experience is listed below. Just those 3 little bullets there. What is the expectation that I want from the AI tool? I want it to generate a professional resume that highlights areas of my work experience that would be valuable in an office manager role. And as part of the resume, suggest sample accomplishment and metrics that would demonstrate proficiency in an office manager role. So here, this is what the prompt looked like when entering it into the tool. Same thing that we just went over. And in its friendly way, it comes back and says, hello, I'd be happy to help you. These are the areas that I think you should highlight: leadership, communication, and organization. And I will let you take the time to read all of those yourself. And then here's the resume that the tool provided with the limited amount of information it was given. It assumed what an admin would do, and it assumed what the sales manager would do. It invented this information. Now, note, it provided the information, but it didn't end in a reasonable professional format, but it would be necessary for you to take this information to copy and paste it into a Google Docs or Microsoft Word document. So it indicates that you need a heading at the top with your name, your address, your phone number, and your email. It provided the objective that you indicated, that you want an office manager position where you can leverage your experience as an admin. And then it provided the work experience and the bullets it made up. So again, it would be incumbent upon you to read this carefully to see if those bullets are right and to tweak it to make it sound more like you. Note that you asked for metrics, but you would need to provide that. So you managed a team perhaps, or the team that you supported as an admin at Johnson Legal Partners. How many employees did you support? Perhaps how many emails and phone calls do you get? Anything that you can quantify within a resume is excellent. It helps a lot. So you need to proof this and verify it. And notice at the bottom, it included your skills of leadership, communication, organization, and Microsoft Office Suite. Again, those were made up. Okay. Let's go on to interview prep. And I will let Jim talk about this. This is fun.
Yeah, thanks. So this was an interesting one. Up until now, we've shown you how you can use these tools to generate content. And you can actually do something a little more sophisticated and use some of these tools almost as a coach and make it more interactive. And here's an example that we found. So if you're preparing for an interview and you're about to meet the hiring manager at company X, you could create a prompt like this, fill in the company name, ask it to help you prepare for the interview by asking typical interview questions. For context, you can include the job title and the job description, either paste that in or in some of the tools, you can just include the link. And the expectation is a little different here. What we're saying is first analyze the job description above, and then based on the job description, ask me 10 common interview questions in increasing order of difficulty. So far, similar to what we've done in the past. But now you can say after each question, wait for my response, analyze my response, and then provide feedback on my answer. And then after providing the feedback on my answer, proceed to the next question, picking up on something in my answer and asking for more detail. So now you're seeing it more act like a coach or a real partner to help you practice for this interview. And so when you put that in, and here's the prompt, and as in all of these, you'll note we've removed the words, noting whether it's context or so forth. You don't need to put those words in. You can just put the actual text. And so what we got back was starting with a list of these 10 common interview questions, and the job we had put in was, customer support specialist. And so you get the questions, and at the bottom it says, please take your time to answer each question. After each response, I will provide feedback on your answer and ask for more details if necessary. So we took these questions and simply gave it a very, simple, actually bad response for number one, just to see what it would do. So the response for number one was, I was motivated to apply because I want a good job. And the question was, what motivated you to apply for this job? And so its response was simply to sort of chastise us and say, thank you for response. However, it is important to provide more specific answers to this question. And then it goes on to provide some advice about what the interviewer would expect to the answer for a question like this. And say you can mention things like your interest in the company's products or services, your passion for customer service, etc. So it's giving you a little advice on how to answer the question better. And then this was a bit surprising, actually. It said, could you please provide a more specific answer to the question so that I can provide feedback on your response and ask the next question. So a bit unexpectedly, it actually wouldn't move on to the next question until we had answered this question well. So you could try again and try to, answer the question better. And then if it accepts your answer, it'll move on to the next question. I point that out because it's interesting. You don't always get the exact response you expect. So you might decide you want to move on to the next question anyway. So again, you can try to provide an additional prompt that says, let's move on to the next question. So it's a process of trial and error. So you won't always know exactly how it's going to respond. It might respond different ways to the same prompt on different occasions, but with some by trying it several times and tweaking your prompts, you can get it to provide this kind of more interactive experience, and it's really powerful. But the point is, you really have to, try different things and keep trying different words until it acts and it does what you want it to do. So some of the other uses, in addition to what we described here, things like networking help, and that could be everything from, provide me a strategy for how to network in this industry. Give me 5, ways I can help network and for this job, or it could be as simple as, help me write an email to someone I'm trying to reach out to in this industry. Or even, I'm a bit shy about networking. How can I get over that? It can really help you in multiple ways. Things like thank you notes are great if you give it some, again, the context of, I just had an interview with this company, with this person. Here's a little background about how it went. It'll help you generate a thank you note. Same with cover letters, similar to the resume example, provided some context around the job and the position and why you're applying for the job, and it'll help you with the cover letter. If you're exploring a new industry that you don't know a lot about, you can simply ask it to provide some summary about the industry, what's been going on the last few years, what are the hot topics, and if one of those is of interest to you, for the next, go back and say, tell me more about that topic because that's relevant to you. So it's a great source of getting information about companies or industries you're interested in. If you're trying to connect on LinkedIn, again, it can help with both the strategy of how you use LinkedIn. You could ask it a question to help you with that, or it could also help you with more of the tactical side of it. Help me write a note of introduction to this person I'm trying to reach out to, and here's why. And it will help you write some content for that. And just generally, if you're looking to learn a new skill, or there's a position you're interested in that requires a new skill or expertise, it's a great place to not only, again, build a strategy for how to learn that skill, but also just get really specific information about that skill, or give you the basics about what a particular area of information is about, so that you can learn a bit about it and then decide if it's something you're interested in. So you could probably think of 20 more things off the top of your head that you could use these tools for. Very powerful, very flexible. The key thing is just try them out, have fun with it. Start using it on things that are just of interest to you, just to get the hang of it before you start your job search. You can't break it. Just experiment with it, and it's actually a lot of fun once you start using them. A couple tips and things to think about, and we mentioned this a couple times. It's not simply a one question process. Put in that first question and then refine it. We showed the example of only including careers with, specific criteria like a college degree. You can have it go back and focus on something that you found interesting in the response. Or you could say, tell me more about this area, or like in the resume example, if it gives you 3 experiences that are good for a certain job and none of them are relevant to you, you go back and say, give me 5 more examples of responsibilities for this position, and find one that fits your background. One thing to think about is there's this concept of hallucination. And what that means is, ChatGPT and some of these tools, they can produce incorrect information, not simply repeat information that they found, but actually generate incorrect information. Sometimes this will happen if you ask a question to which it doesn't know the answer, or there is no good answer. It will actually try to generate an answer for that. So you have to be really careful of that, as Karen mentioned. Make sure you fact check everything it gives you, because it can provide bad information. Another important thing is that this is a tool, right? So it's not going to give you everything in perfect language. Sometimes it can sound like a computer. So make sure you go through and edit and put this all into your voice. This reflects you. And there actually are tools out there that companies can use to identify content that's been generated by AI. So you don't want to submit content straight out of one of these tools, because sometimes they can identify it as content that you didn't create. Karen mentioned data privacy. Just, be careful about what you submit. There's really no benefit to adding your phone number, certainly not a social security number, even an address. It doesn't help you with the response. Maybe you could tell it, where you live, what town you live in, just so it can localize some of your responses. But um, depending on the tool you use, sometimes it's not clear how that content gets used. And so you don't want to just put that into the system and allow it to be used in a way that you don't want. And then just a quick usage tip, and in these boxes, you'll see sometimes there's a button that says new topic or plus. So what that's for is to sort of start a new conversation. So if you enter a prompt and you're typing and you're asking a question, and then you want to ask a follow-up question, if you want to clear that and start over with a whole new question, hit new topic or hit that plus button. That sort of clears the memory of your conversation and starts a new one. And then as you're typing, if you want to add a carriage return or add a new line, use Shift Enter. If you hit Enter, it will submit whatever you've typed, even if it's half done, and it'll start processing it. So just a little usage tip is use Shift Enter as you're typing. It'll save you a lot of heartache. I think that's all I had. I'll send it back to Karen.
Okay, so that is the end of our formal presentation. Thank you again so much for tuning in. If you have any further questions on this or would like to reach out for help with your job search, please reach out to me. Here's my contact information for you, and we'd be happy to help. So again, thanks so much for tuning in, and we will sign off now.